Alright, Rebzion did a video recently about bullying, okay? And, I've been trying to resist the temptation, but I feel like, my own account on the topic of bullying is, in high demand. Well, not really, but I'm gonna give my opinion of it anyways. Um, in fact, I posted a comment on his video, pretty much outlining my whole opinion of bullying. Just the fact that there's like three parts of it, really. One part that we really never talked about, even to this day, which I really do think is almost the root of all bullying, if you were to really break it down. But that's just my own opinion. I pretty much said that the common bullying we see in children and in adolescents, the name calling, the insults, and everything. In my opinion, they have their place. Because when you break that down, really, what is it? It's just one person calling another person out. I mean, it's happened to me several times. And when I was younger, I really took it seriously, and then I just started saying, you know what, maybe these are just haters, or maybe these aren't really haters. Maybe these are just people who are just calling me out. I got bullied for my weight. I was really overweight, and I was overweight in like a lot of parts, like in like some parts, and like not overweight in others. I was like specifically my gut and my man boobs were like the biggest, like the features of me being fat. Everything else was fine, but I had giant man boobs, and so people would make fun of me for it. You know what I mean? And they would call me really dirty names and stuff like that. They'd be like, oh, if I were to buy you a Christmas present, I would buy you a bra. That kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like really really cutting stuff. Like you can't write this kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I used to really get affected by it. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie, it did prevent me from, uh, it kind of did prevent me from trying to fit in and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. But the main point is that it never affected me long term, because and largely in part because I had supportive parents, albeit very absent parents, but still supportive when they were present, who told me, oh, kids are going to be cruel. That's kids being kids. You can't stop that. You can't contain that. It's really a dumb idea to contain it, in my opinion, because that's innocent school ground nonsense. That if you take it too seriously, you're doing it wrong. And that's been my opinion of that kind of bullying to this day. Is that you care about the people that the opinions you should be worrying about are the opinions of those who you care about, your family, your closest friends. If you don't have either, then it's just you yourself and you. Then hey, it's me, myself, and I. If the shoe fits, you know what I mean. So that's my take on, and that's really what's the common bullying nowadays is like name calling and the insults and stuff like that, and harassment and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's really what is being talked about nowadays. Now, when bullying is physical, like if it includes violence, and I'm not talking about like just being shoved or whatever, like pushed into a locker, big deal. You know what I mean? But like, let's see what else. Or anything like that. Like, yeah, that's annoying, and and if it's taken too far, sure, then it becomes a problem. But I'm not talking about that kind of bullying at all. I'm talking about like groups of bullies who will just gang up on one person and beat them down to the point where whoever they beat up like doesn't even want to go to school or their job or whatever anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of rough. And that deserves some intervention. That deserves a lot. That even deserves like to to be seen in the same realm as assault, in my opinion. Yeah. And then there's the bullying that I received when it mattered the most. Because there's other two forms of bullying, that's, to me, because of what my parents said, and because of the stuff that I've been, and because of the shows that I've been watching, and just because of, just because I had, a decent, uh, a decent atmosphere of friends and family that I could rely on for continual, unabashed support, I was able to get over that kind of thing. But this third kind of bullying, it took me years upon decades to get over it. And that is just what I'm calling social bullying. That's all I can really talk of. It's the only way I can really sum it up. And this social bullying, for me, was administered by adults, of all people. I must explain. When I was growing up, pretty much up until, I want to say up until my 20s, when I really started to change as a person, and I started developing the skills that I knew I needed to survive, I had a lot of, I don't want to say autistic, because I'm definitely not autistic. I had a lot of traits of Asperger's, which are, Asperger's is kind of like, it's like if you're on the autism spectrum, but not really. Like, that's what Asperger's is, and that includes like, if your speech sucks, if you don't enunciate words, if you just kind of mumble, if you have really bad posture, if you don't have a sense of hygiene, in some cases, definitely not my case, but that kind of stuff. If you can't interpret emotions, that's the biggest thing about having Asperger's. Now, I don't have Asperger's. Of course, I had traits of it, but I was never really diagnosed, so I don't know if I have it or not. You know what I mean? And there are some people who go their whole lives without knowing that they have Asperger's. The guy I live with is one of them. He's high functioning autistic, so he's even worse. He has like speech delays and these kind of things, and things that really like make him like markedly different. Different being really, 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 really good in one subject, and really, 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 really awful to mediocre in everything else. Such was the case with me. My subject of obscene knowledge, my subjects of obscene knowledge were history and English. Those are always my two best subjects. These are the subjects I could sleep my way to B's and C's in. You know what I mean? But because I was less than perfect, less than great in other subjects, specifically math, and not even like arithmetic, but like when it came to like the more complicated stuff like algebra, I was just like, what? I don't even know what this is, blah blah blah, you know what I mean? And so I had to get put in special ed classes. And without giving anyone a history lesson, pretty much, if you're in special ed, you get branded. You do. You get seen as that kid who just, you're too disabled. You're too disabled. You're too learning disabled to go any further than a high school education, pretty much. And my guidance counselors took it upon themselves to actually physically say this to me. And I'll tell you one thing right now. That happened roughly 15 years ago. And I was never able, until probably I want to say a good decade or so ago, I was never really able to understand how that affected me. Because it affected me in more ways than you could possibly imagine. As soon as my guidance counselor sat me down and said, he interviewed me, he's like, he'd like to pick classes for the next school year. I think it was a sophomore year of high school going into junior year. He said, okay, you need to start taking college prep classes if you think you're going to go to college, but I have to ask you one thing. Do you have a disability? And I very foolishly said yes. And instead of just having some, smarmy kid call me a retard, which is I've got that my whole life up until high school, and I didn't tell anyone. I got the message. You know what I mean? I mysteriously got the message. Don't tell anyone you're in special ed. You know what I mean? Like, so I got that message, but my guidance counselor, he didn't even care. He was like, well, you're special ed, and to be quite honest, I'm just going to give it to you straight. You're not college material. So here's what we're going to do. And they put me in some lame-o classes that I, could barely, that I just slept all the way through. And I got decent grades. I slept my way through high school and got decent grades. I'm not proud of it. But that is what I call social bullying. That's what it means to judge somebody based on, you know, something they have, or the color of their skin, or their nationality, or even their family structure. I got judged and bullied for having a single father more than anyone could ever imagine. Like, people would be like, "What? Like, what are you, gay? What are you, his gay lover or something like that? Who the hell has his single father?" I didn't know anyone else in my whole high school, and I went to a big goddamn high school. Over 3,000 people in my high school. 3,000. 700 in my graduating class alone, and I didn't know one person with a single father, and that hurt. That hurt a lot. So, yeah. There's another instance where I tried out for the baseball team because I thought I was good in baseball. Yeah, not really. That's another Asperger's trait that I had that I got over because I started playing recreational sports and I started bowling again. That's really bad coordination. Really bad coordination. Not as bad as my homeboy who lives with me, but my coordination was pretty bad growing up. And I got made fun of it all the time. I was the awkward kid, you know what I mean? But my peers making fun of me, couldn't compare to when I tried out for baseball and I got laughed off the field, which I kind of knew was going to happen. What I didn't expect to happen was the coach to walk up to me and ask me, "Do you have a learning disability?" And him being an authority, I just said yes. He's like, "Well, if you're learning disabled, then you're not going to be able to perform on a sports team of any kind, not even baseball." So, you know what I mean? Imagine hearing that from an adult, okay? Imagine you're an impressionable 15, 16-year-old kid, and you have big dreams, you know what I mean? You want to do something instead of just graduate high school and then, work at my joint, you know what I mean? Where if I did that and worked there for 5 years, I'd probably be running a joint by now. I'd probably be running a whole district. You know what I mean? So imagine that. How bad must that feel compared to, what we call bullying? I'll tell you one thing right now. Honestly, it was the social bullying that made me want to hurt myself. That made me want to just hurt others by being negative and toxic. It's what made me stop caring, pretty much, about anything and everything. And I'm just, you know what? I just don't care anymore. And I virtually stopped living. There's another instance, a third instance, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. There was a wall on my high school. This was sadistic. Whoever made this idea, man, gold star, cause that's hilarious. But and in hindsight, it's hilarious. But 15 years prior, it was terrible, nearly traumatizing. There was this wall that it was like a bulletin board kind of deal. People would put like stuff on there, whatever. And every week, I guess the popular people ran it because the whole thing would be cleared and it'd just be a bunch of names, okay? And there'd be a giant letter V. Guess what that stands for? Yeah. And I was on that thing. And there were a lot of other boys and girls on there too. A lot more boys than girls. You know what I mean? Ugh. How crazy is that? And I remember all of us were congregating around it, you know what I mean? Like, And, that's where all the rumors flew. Oh, who's going to get laid this weekend? Blah, blah, blah. And then there were a couple people who were, like, having a conversation about it. And they're like, man, could you imagine if you were an autistic or special ed or something? Like, that would mean that you would never have sex ever. Like, I guess it was like an urban myth that, like, if you're in special ed, you can't have sex, like, ever. Like, you were going to die without having sex. You know what I mean? This was after the 15 years later incident, which I suggest you watch. So yeah, and that hurt me a lot. And that's when I decided, all of these things took place roughly 15 years ago, back in like 98, 99. And I said to myself, you know what, I'm giving up on life. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And for a while I did. Even though I went through college and everything like that, I wasn't doing it for me, I was doing it to prove something to my doubters, which that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because it can motivate you. It's bad if you make it your sole purpose, which for me it was my sole purpose. I wasn't like out to get a nice job or anything like that, or to learn a nice skill so I can get a nice job. No, for me it was all like, oh, let me prove these motherfuckers wrong. You know what I mean? And like make my dad happy. You know what I mean? Like, that is not the way to go through college. And yeah, I had to go through college again because I said to myself, alright, I gotta do this for me this time. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's my little case on bullying. I'm not saying any of it's good, because it's not. I mean, bullying, I don't even like the word bullying. I mean, it's more like hating. Because, look at who bullies you, okay? The people who bully you are people who, they don't want you to succeed because they're scared that they won't. That's the thing, okay? And there were people that there were even kids that I bullied, okay? And I was even scared when they like weren't reacting, okay? I'd be like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not right. He's supposed to get all, he's supposed to get all stuffy and everything like that. What the hell? No, this isn't cool. Stop reacting. Start reacting, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, even that, for me, as a former bully. And then I said, oh, I just got bored of it. You know what I mean? But, here's the reason why you gotta avoid that victim mindset. Okay? Because on Repzion's video, it's like polluted with comments saying, oh, I was bullied my whole life, and now I have social anxiety, and now I don't like anybody. And you know what? That is a very pathetic way to live. And you gotta rise above. You do. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people who are important to you, whether you are important to them or not. I mean, like, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to people who you are important to, whether you are important to them or not. Whether you think that way, you could disagree, but it doesn't matter. Because in the end, they're going to be there for you, okay? I used to always dislike my dad about being negative about women because of his divorce and everything like that. But he was my biggest supporter. He was always on my team. And you know what? He bullied me just like I was bullied by my peers. What am I supposed to call him a bully too? No, he called me out on my bullshit. Especially when I got older and I started getting really fat, and he was like, you know what? You need to start exercising because I don't want you to be obese. What am I supposed to call him a bully now? And be like, oh, well, yeah, my dad was a bully, and that means that, I started hating myself. And no, I just got called out. That's different than being bullied. Bullying is repetitive. Bullying is, almost like it's not even a bad intention. It's like bullies are just like, they just get bored. It's out of boredom usually. You know what I mean? But it's if you're like a victim of it. I don't like using the word victim at all. You know what I mean? Or if you're a subject of it. There you go. If you're a subject of bullying, you owe it to yourself to say, look, I have to interpret this the right way, or else I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's how I interpreted bullying. You know what I mean? When I was getting made fun of my man boobs, I said to myself, you know what? I need to start working out. I need to start getting active because not only am I getting called out at school for having man boobs and being made fun of, now my own father is calling me out for being a little bit fatter than usual. You know what I mean? He's like, you're gaining weight. You need to stop gaining weight. That kind of stuff. So I'm getting hit on all angles. You know what I mean? There's only one way out of that, and that's through action. You got to take action to do that. You know what I mean? Just like I used to get made fun of at my jobs for not having sex. I mean, like, I hadn't had real sex until 24. And, I would tell people about that, and instead of being supportive, especially adults, they kind of laugh at you. They go, wow, you haven't had sex yet and you're in your 20s? God, hate to be you. And I go, wait a minute. Maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I have to do something about this. Not to prove to them that I'm not gay or whatever. That was my original, intention. But just to prove to myself that I can be just as good as anyone else. You know what I mean? And to give potential women in my life a chance. Because I had a lot of potential girls and women that I kind of just brushed aside because I thought that, oh, well, I'm special ed. I can't do any of that. I'm not allowed. I'm here in my box, and leave me in my box. And I can't come out. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the worst part of bullying. And just getting picked on. I mean, at least people are paying attention to you. But when people stopped paying attention to me, and authorities were telling me that I can't do certain things, that's when the real bullying started for me. That's when I really wished that I could just go back to when I was 11 or 12, when people were just picking on me, and I still had guidance counselors saying, you can be anything you want. Because that gave me hope. But when people stopped bullying me, and when my guidance counselors, etc., said that I couldn't do certain things because I was special ed, because I possibly had Asperger's, that's rough. I challenge anyone to find a more challenging situation. Okay? I mean, all things being equal, like, yeah, having a broken home is fucking terrible. Or if you're taking care of, like, a million younger siblings, you know what I mean? Or if you have, like, a mom who gets drunk and kicks your ass, and then you have a dad who gets drunk and kicks her ass, and then, like, you want to kick both their ass, like, that's different, obviously. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's my story of bullying, and I understand this is a little longer than Repzion's video, but hell, I have a lot more to talk about than he did. So to anyone who is a victim of bullying, you gotta rise up. You gotta rise up. You gotta do it. You gotta say to yourself, look, I'm the only constant. And it sounds like a narcissistic thing to say, but it's true. Because then no one's gonna care whether you succeed or whether you fail. Only one who should care is you. And in the end, like, it's all about building a life that you are comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with it, well then, oh no, well, you gotta change certain things. And, that starts in your adolescence. If you don't change certain things, if you don't break the mold, you know what I mean? I really should have just broke the mold, and I should have just done it just so I could do me. You know what I mean? I could have been mediocre in everything else, and I could have just been fantastic in English and history. You know what I mean? I tested into English honors in freshman year of high school, and I missed by like 2 points. I should have went to my dad. I should have went, Dad, look, I can do this. Give me the ball. But a lot of people who are bullied they don't think they have a ball to take, and that was certainly me when I was an adolescent, and I had to learn it very hard back then. And even though I'm looking back at when I was bullied, and I kind of laugh now. Um, there's certainly times where uh, I know it affected me a lot for the long term. It took away my motivation to almost to stay alive even, but it never really went that far. So, anyways, now I'm rambling. I better stop this and start recording some more stuff. So, by the way, this is on my phone, so if it looks weird or sounds weird, that's probably why. Anyways, I'm out of here. Peace.